Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. To enjoy HFY stories, subscribe and like this channel. Look, I am going to be honest with you right now. When I signed up to be an exchange student at the Galactic Military Academy on Station Gamma 9, I thought I had seen everything the universe could throw at me. I mean, I am Vree from the Korthan Empire, right? My people invented plasma shielding. We have been spacefaring for 12,000 cycles. We pride ourselves on being unshakable, logical, and frankly, pretty smug about our place in the cosmos. So naturally, when I heard that humans had been accepted into the academy, I laughed. Actually laughed. These weird bipedal mammals from some backwater planet called Earth? The same species that only figured out faster-than-light travel because they stumbled onto a derelict Archean probe and reverse-engineered it? Please. I gave them 3 rotations before they washed out. Spoiler alert, I was wrong. So incredibly, spectacularly wrong. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. The human delegation arrived on a Tuesday. Well, what the station called Tuesday, anyway. Humans are obsessed with naming their time periods after ancient gods and celestial bodies, which is weirdly charming if you ask me. There were 20 of them in total, and they looked soft. That is the only word I can use. Soft. No natural armor plating. No retractable claws. Their skin looked like it would tear if you breathed on it too hard. They had these strange patches of fur only on their heads, and their eyes were positioned forward like predators, but they smiled all the time like prey trying to look friendly. The Academy's commandant, a 4-armed Vexillian named Thorncutter, gave them the standard welcome speech. You know the type. Lots of honor, this, and discipline, that. The humans nodded along politely, taking notes on these primitive devices they called tablets. I noticed one of them, a female with dark skin and tightly coiled head fur pulled back severely, was not writing anything down. She just stared at Thorncutter with these intense brown eyes, and I swear I saw the commandant falter mid-sentence. Her name was Kira Banks. Remember that name, because it becomes important later. Anyway, the humans were assigned to various combat training cohorts, and lucky me, I got 3 of them in mine. Kira Banks, obviously. Then there was Marcus Webb, this tall, lean male with pale skin and nervous energy that made him bounce on his feet constantly. And finally, there was Yuki Tanaka, a shorter female who smiled at everything and everyone, which I found deeply unsettling because, on my planet, baring your teeth is a threat display. Our cohort had 12 members total. Besides the 3 humans and myself, there were 2 Drouthians, hulking reptilians who could bench press a small transport. There was Kix, a floating gaseous entity who communicated through color changes and smelled faintly of sulfur. The rest were various species from the mid-rim territories, all of us thinking we were hot stuff because we had made it into the academy. Our first combat simulation was supposed to be straightforward. A hostage rescue scenario in an urban environment. Standard tactics, standard protocols. We had run similar drills dozens of times. Commander Vesh, a grizzled old Korthan veteran with more scars than scales, briefed us in his typical gruff manner. You will enter the simulation zone at 0600. Hostiles are holding 3 civilians in a ground-level structure. Rules of engagement are weapons-free but minimize collateral damage. You have 30 minutes. Questions? Marcus raised his hand. Are the hostiles expecting us? Vesh's eyes narrowed. This is a simulation, Cadet. Assume the enemy always knows you are coming. Marcus nodded slowly, then glanced at Kira, who gave him this tiny shake of her head. I caught it. Kix caught it, flickering orange with curiosity. But Vesh did not notice. We geared up in standard academy armor. Lightweight composite plating, energy shields, plasma rifles with stun and lethal settings. The humans struggled a bit with the equipment because, let us be real, it was not designed for their weird proportions. Kira kept adjusting her helmet, which kept sliding down over her eyes. Marcus complained that his boots were too tight. Yuki just kept smiling and saying everything was fine, which I was now convinced was some kind of stress response. The simulation started at dawn, station time. We approached the target building in 2 teams. I was with Kira, Marcus, and one of the Drouthians, a female named Core who took point because she had the most armor plating. Kix floated above us, providing aerial reconnaissance. Everything went wrong immediately. We stacked up at the door. Core activated her shield and prepared to breach. But before she could, Marcus held up his fist, the universal signal for stop. We froze. What? Core hissed, her vocal translator crackling with irritation. Marcus tilted his head, like he was listening to something. Then he looked at Kira, and she tilted her head too. It was the weirdest thing. They were communicating without saying a word, just these tiny gestures and expressions that meant absolutely nothing to the rest of us. Finally, Kira whispered, "They are not inside." "What?" I said, probably too loud. She looked at me with those intense eyes. "The hostiles. They are not inside the building. This is a trap." "How do you possibly know that?" Core demanded. Kira shrugged, which is apparently a human gesture that means either, "I do not know," or, "I do not care to explain," or possibly, "Your guess is as good as mine." Human nonverbal communication is annoyingly ambiguous. But Marcus was already moving, slipping away from the door and heading around the side of the building. Yuki followed him without hesitation. Kira gestured for us to stay put, then disappeared after them. Core and I looked at each other. Should we follow orders or follow them? I asked. Core's translator made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Let us see what the soft mammals do." We followed. Around the back of the building, Marcus was crouched behind a retaining wall, rifle up, scanning the area. Yuki was doing the same from a different angle. Kira had climbed, somehow, onto a low roof and was lying flat, watching something in the distance. She dropped down silently and motioned us closer. 3 hostiles, 200 meters, using the civilian structures as cover. 2 more circling behind us. "The building is rigged to blow when we breach." "How?" I demanded, "do you know any of this?" She pointed to barely visible scorch marks on the building's foundation. "Explosive residue. Fresh. And watch the birds." "What birds?" "Exactly. No wildlife anywhere near this building. Animals know when something is wrong. And look at the window on the 2nd floor. The curtain moved 3 times, same pattern, same interval. That is not wind. That is a mechanical trigger." I stared at her. We had been at the academy for months. I had trained in tactical analysis. I had studied threat assessment. And this human female, who had been here for exactly 5 days, just read an entire ambush from scorch marks and absent birds. "This is a simulation," Core said slowly. "How would they program birds into a simulation?" Kira smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "They did not. I am talking about the real birds. The ones that left when they set up the scenario. Outside the simulation zone." My brain hurt. Marcus was already moving again, using hand signals to coordinate with Yuki. They flowed around obstacles like water, keeping low, using cover I had not even noticed was there. The Drouthian and I followed, trying not to feel completely inadequate. The humans took out all 5 hostiles in under 2 minutes. No shots fired. Just precise, terrifying efficiency. Marcus dropped one with a hand-to-hand technique that bent the holographic soldier in ways bodies should not bend. Yuki disabled 2 others with some kind of pressure point attack that made them vanish from the simulation. Kira handled the last 2 herself, moving so fast I almost missed it. Then they breached the building from an unexpected angle, secured the hostages, and disarmed the trap, all while Core and I were still processing what we had just witnessed. Commander Vesh was waiting when we exited the simulation zone. His expression was unreadable. "Explain," he said to Kira. She stood at attention, still smiling that not quite friendly smile. "Sir, the scenario was designed to punish conventional tactical thinking. We adapted. You ignored your team leader. You abandoned the approach vector. You changed the entire mission profile without authorization." "Yes, sir. We succeeded, sir." Vesh stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound that made half the cohort jump. "Humans," he said, shaking his head. 20,000 years we have been training soldiers, and humans show up and throw out the entire manual in 5 days. Excellent work, Cadet Banks. Unorthodox, but excellent. Kira's smile turned genuine. "Thank you, sir." As we walked back to the barracks, I caught up to her. "How did you do that? How did you know?" She shrugged again. "Ancestors helped me." That gesture was frustrating. "Earth is not a nice place," she said finally. "Where I am from, you learn to read danger or you do not grow up. We pay attention to things other species do not notice because, for most of our history, everything on our planet was trying to kill us. Predators. Parasites. Other humans. We adapted, or we died. But you look so," I hesitated, "soft." She laughed. It was a bright, genuine sound. "Yeah. We get that a lot. Soft skin, fragile bones, no natural weapons. But you know what we have? Endurance. Adaptability. And spite. Lots and lots of spite. We are not the strongest species, or the fastest, or the smartest. But we are the species that refuses to quit. Ever. And that counts for something." Over the following weeks, the humans continued to terrify everyone at the academy. Not through strength or aggression, but through sheer, relentless competence. They aced tactical simulations that were designed to have no perfect solution. They thrived in high-stress environments that broke other species. They formed bonds with their cohort members that went beyond professional courtesy, turning strangers into something they called a squad, which apparently meant family by choice. And then came the day that changed everything. It was week 7. We were in advanced combat theory, a class taught by Professor Halux, a pretentious academic from the Centauri cluster who loved the sound of his own voice. He was lecturing about historical battle tactics, specifically the siege of Voronezh III, when it happened. A noise came from Kira's bag. It was a small sound. Just a faint buzzing, barely audible over Halux's droning voice. But every single human in that classroom, all 20 of them, reacted instantly. They dropped. Not ducked. Not flinched. Dropped. To the floor. Behind desks, under tables, anywhere that provided cover. In perfect unison, like they had rehearsed it. Marcus actually knocked over his chair and pulled Kix, the gaseous entity, down with him, which should have been physically impossible. And the combat-trained cadets, the ones like me who had been at the academy for months, who had drilled endurance responses into our muscle memory. We saw the humans drop and we hit the floor too. Instinct. Pure, unthinking instinct. The classroom was dead silent except for the buzzing sound, which continued for 3 more seconds before stopping abruptly. Kira slowly reached into her bag and pulled out a small rectangular device. Her communication tablet. Which had been vibrating with an incoming message. She looked at it. Then she looked around the classroom at 20 different species, all of whom were now hiding behind furniture. Her expression was absolutely mortified. "Sorry," she said quietly. "I forgot to mute my phone." Professor Halleck stared at her from behind his lectern, where he had also, I noticed, taken cover. "Cadet Banks," he said slowly, "would you care to explain why a simple communication alert just caused a mass tactical response?" Kira stood up, brushing off her uniform. The other humans were also getting up, looking sheepish. Some of them were trying not to laugh. "Sir," she said carefully, "where we come from, unexpected buzzing sounds are potentially hazardous." Hazardous. Yes, sir. We have insects on Earth. Many, many insects. Some of them inject venom. Some of them carry diseases. Some of them build nests inside structures and attack when disturbed. The buzzing sound triggers a survival response. An insect, Halux repeated flatly. You are telling me that humans evolved a combat drop response to insects? Marcus raised his hand. Also snakes, sir. And spiders. And certain plants. And environmental hazards like falling trees, rock slides, sinkholes, lightning, flood warnings, predator growls, territorial birds, venomous fish, toxic fungi, aggressive herbivores, territorial mothers of any species, unexpected geological events, and occasionally other humans. Earth is, respectfully sir, really dangerous. The classroom remained silent. Then Kix flickered bright yellow, which meant amusement. Your planet has flying, buzzing creatures that are dangerous enough to warrant a tactical response. Yuki nodded seriously. Oh yes. Bees, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets. They swarm. They are aggressive when defending their nests. People die from allergic reactions. You learn to move when you hear the buzzing. Fast. I was still on the floor. I looked at Kira. Your survival instinct is triggered by bugs. She met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw something in her expression that was not confidence or intensity. It was exhaustion. Deep, species-wide exhaustion. Our survival instinct is triggered by everything, she said quietly. Because on Earth, everything is a threat. The air can kill you if it is too hot or too cold. The water can drown you or freeze you or crush you. The ground can shake apart beneath your feet. The sun can burn you. The darkness can hide predators. The food can poison you. The weather can destroy your shelter. And yes, the bugs can kill you. We are not the apex predator on our planet, Vree. We are not even close. We are just the species that refuse to give up. So yes, we drop when we hear buzzing, because the species that did not drop. They are extinct. The weight of those words settled over the classroom like a physical thing. Professor Halux cleared his throat. Well. That was educational. Please mute your device, Cadet Banks. Class dismissed. We filed out slowly, nobody quite willing to make eye contact. But as we walked back to the barracks, something had shifted. The humans were not just the new cadets anymore. They were not just the underdogs or the curiosity. They were survivors. And we were starting to understand what that really meant. So here is the thing about humans that nobody tells you until you spend serious time around them. They do not just survive. They thrive on the chaos that would break other species. And more importantly, they bond over it. After the incident with the buzzing phone, which became legendary around the academy within about 6 hours, the humans started this new tradition. Every evening after dinner, they would gather in the common area and tell stories. Not mission reports or tactical debriefs. Stories about Earth. And because we were idiots, the rest of us started listening. Marcus told us about something called a box jellyfish. Translucent, nearly invisible in water, with tentacles that inject toxins so painful that victims have been known to go into shock and drown before they even reach shore. He described it the way you or I might describe a pleasant afternoon breeze. Yuki talked about earthquakes that could level entire cities in seconds. She was from an island nation that sat on something called the Ring of Fire, which was not, as I initially hoped, a cool name for a weapons testing facility, but rather a zone where tectonic plates collided and created constant volcanic and seismic activity. She smiled while describing buildings collapsing. Smiled. And Kira, oh ancestors, Kira told us about hippos. Do you know what a hippo is? It is a massive, herbivorous mammal that looks slow and docile and kills more humans per year than lions, crocodiles, or sharks. It can run 30 kilometers per hour on land, swim faster than humans, bite a crocodile in half, and is aggressively territorial. And humans just, what, built civilizations right next to them. Because of course they did. But the story that really got to me, the one that made me understand humans on a fundamental level, came from a cadet named Isaiah Grant. He was this quiet guy who kept to himself mostly, dark-skinned with close-cropped hair and hands that never stopped moving, always fidgeting with something. He told us about his childhood in a place called New Orleans. A city built below sea level, right next to the ocean, in a region regularly hit by massive rotating storm systems called hurricanes. Already, my brain was struggling. Why would anyone build there? But then he described Hurricane Katrina. Winds over 200 kilometers per hour. Flooding that put 80% of the city underwater. People trapped on rooftops for days. Thousands dead. Infrastructure destroyed. And afterward, you know what humans did? They rebuilt. In the same location. Because it was their home. Isaiah looked at all of us with these calm, steady eyes and said, "We do not survive because our planet is kind. We survive because we refuse to let it win. Every species in the galaxy can adapt to their environment. Humans adapt, and then we dare the environment to try again." There was this moment of silence. Then Kor, the massive Drouthian who could probably tear a door off its hinges, said quietly, "Your species is insane." Isaiah grinned. "Yeah. We really are." The thing was, it did not stop there. The more we learned about Earth, the more we realized that human combat training was not theoretical. It was survival skills codified into military doctrine. Every tactic they used, every instinct they demonstrated, came from thousands of generations of living on a planet that actively tried to kill them. Take their hand-to-hand combat styles. Most species developed martial arts as ritualistic displays or sport. Humans developed theirs to kill with efficiency because they had no other choice. No claws, no venom, no armored hide. Just soft flesh and breakable bones. So they learned to use leverage, momentum, and precision targeting of vulnerable areas. They turned their weakness into weapons. Or consider their approach to logistics. Humans assume supply lines will fail. They plan for it. They cross-train every soldier on multiple roles because they expect casualties. They cache supplies in redundant locations because they know bases get overrun. This is not pessimism. This is lived experience. Week 9 brought our first live-fire exercise. Real weapons, real ammunition, real consequences if you messed up. The scenario was a combat patrol through hostile territory with active opposition forces. Our cohort was assigned to sweep a canyon system on the station's training moon. Intel reported light resistance, maybe a squad of opposing forces using guerrilla tactics. Standard search and clear. We geared up at 0400. Full combat loadout this time. Actual armor plating, not training gear. Rifles with lethal settings enabled. Medical kits. 3 days of rations, because the scenario was designed to run long if we did not complete objectives quickly. Commander Vesh gave us the brief. You will encounter armed resistance. They will be using training ammunition, but it will still hurt if it hits you. Pain compliance is enabled. Get shot, and you will know it. Rules of engagement are realistic combat conditions. Watch your sectors, watch your spacing, and for the love of the ancestors, watch each other. Questions? Kira raised her hand. Sir, are we authorized to deviate from the planned route if we identify tactical advantages? Vesh studied her. Cadet Banks, are you planning to ignore orders again? No, sir. I am planning to complete the mission more efficiently. He almost smiled. Tactical flexibility is authorized within mission parameters. Do not do anything stupid. Define stupid, sir. Now he definitely smiled. If I have to explain it, you have already crossed the line. Dismissed. We loaded into transports and dropped into the canyon at dawn. The terrain was brutal. Rocky, uneven ground. Limited sight lines. Perfect ambush territory. Our squad moved in a tactical column, weapons ready, scanning for threats. Everything was quiet. Too quiet, as humans apparently say, which I used to think was a ridiculous cliché until I experienced it myself. No wind. No ambient noise. Just our boots crunching on gravel and our breathing inside our helmets. Marcus was on point with Core. I was mid-column with Kix and 2 other cadets. Kira and Yuki were rear guard. We had covered maybe 200 meters when Marcus raised his fist. Everyone froze. He signaled, enemy contact, 12 o'clock, elevated position. I scanned the canyon walls but saw nothing. Then Marcus did something that made absolutely no sense. He picked up a small rock and threw it hard against the canyon wall about 30 meters ahead. The rock clattered loudly in the silence. And then all hell broke loose. Training rounds started impacting around us from 3 different positions. Not the one Marcus had indicated. He had thrown the rock to make them reveal themselves. The opposing force had been waiting for us to walk into the kill zone, but Marcus forcing their hand early meant we had time to react. We scattered to cover. Return fire lit up the canyon. And then I saw what the humans were doing, and it was beautiful and terrible at the same time. They did not just take cover. They flowed. Marcus went left, drawing fire. Yuki went right, flanking. Kira stayed center but moved forward instead of back, getting underneath the enemy's firing angle. They were not reacting to the ambush. They were turning it inside out, making the ambushers the ambushed. Core and I provided suppressing fire while the humans maneuvered. Within 90 seconds, they had eliminated all 3 opposing positions. Non-lethally, but completely. The enemy combatants were marked as casualties and withdrew from the exercise. Commander Vesh was monitoring everything from the command post. His voice crackled over our comms. Acceptable performance. Continue mission. Acceptable. 3 on 12 ambush, and we walked away without a scratch, and it was acceptable. We pushed deeper into the canyon. Hit 2 more ambush positions. Cleared them both. The humans kept adapting, kept reading the terrain, kept anticipating threats before they materialized. It was like watching precognition, except it was not magic. It was pattern recognition honed by evolutionary necessity. By mid-afternoon, we had reached the primary objective. A fortified position at the canyon's end, where the opposing force had entrenched. Intel said maybe 6 hostiles. We counted at least 15. Core growled over the squad channel. This is not what we were briefed. Kira was studying the position through her rifle scope. They are testing us. Seeing if we adapt or if we call for backup. So what do we do? I asked. She lowered her scope and looked at me. Then at Marcus and Yuki. Then at the rest of the squad. Something passed between the humans. That weird silent communication again. We adapt, she said simply. What followed was 90 minutes of the most intense tactical problem solving I have ever witnessed. The humans did not try to assault the position directly. Instead, they turned it into a siege. They identified the enemy's water source and cut it off. They used suppressing fire to keep them pinned while Yuki actually climbed, the canyon wall to get a sniper position above them. They played audio recordings of weapons fire from multiple directions to make the enemy think they were surrounded by a much larger force. Psychological warfare. Humans invented a term for it. They called it, getting inside someone's head. Making the enemy defeat themselves through fear and confusion. It worked. The opposing force surrendered without us firing a single shot in the final push. They just gave up because they believed they were already beaten. Vesh met us at the extraction point personally. He walked down our line, inspecting each cadet. When he got to Kira, he stopped. "You did not follow the tactical manual even once today," he said. "No, sir. You improvised. You adapted. You used methods not taught at this academy." "Yes, sir." "Where did you learn these tactics, cadet?" Kira stood at attention, but I could see the hint of a smile. "Earth, sir. We call it Wednesday." Vesh stared at her. Then he started laughing. Deep, genuine laughter that echoed off the canyon walls. The other instructors looked shocked. I had never heard Vesh laugh before. "Humans," he said, shaking his head. "You people are going to rewrite every manual we have, are you not?" "We will certainly try, sir," Marcus said. That night, back at the barracks, the entire cohort gathered in the common area. Not just our squad. Everyone. All 12 teams from the exercise. Word had spread about how the humans had handled the scenarios. A Centauri cadet named Vorn spoke up. He was tall, blue-skinned, with too many joints in his limbs. "I need to ask something that has been bothering me. You humans, you treat combat like it is normal. Like violence is just another problem to solve. How do you live like that? How do you not break?" The humans exchanged glances. It was Yuki who answered, her ever-present smile fading to something more serious. "We break all the time," she said quietly. "Humans are not unbreakable. We shatter. We fall apart. We have psychological conditions from trauma. We mourn. We grieve. We suffer. But here is the thing. When we break, we put ourselves back together. Sometimes the cracks show. Sometimes we heal wrong. But we heal. And we keep going. Because that is what humans do. We endure." Isaiah added, "Every human carries trauma. Every single one. From our personal lives, from our history, from just living on Earth. We have entire fields of medicine dedicated to treating psychological damage. We have support systems. We talk about it. We help each other. Because we understand that survival is not about being the toughest. It is about being the most persistent." Kor rumbled thoughtfully. "On my world, warriors who suffer psychological damage are considered weak. They are removed from service. That explains why your military has a 40% attrition rate," Kira said bluntly. "You throw away damaged soldiers instead of repairing them. Humans figured out that a warrior who has been broken and healed is stronger than one who has never been tested. They know their limits. They know how to survive past them." The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Kix flickered a pale blue, the color of contemplation. "I think I understand now. Human military doctrine is not based on strength or superiority. It is based on resilience. The assumption that you will be hurt, but you will recover. That you will lose battles, but you will continue fighting. That you will be knocked down, but you will stand up again." Marcus nodded. "There is an old human saying. It is not about how hard you hit. It is about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That is what Earth taught us. How to take a beating and keep going." Week 12 was graduation for basic combat training. Out of 300 cadets who started, 247 were certifying. The humans? All 20 passed. Top marks in adaptive tactics and combat problem solving. The graduation ceremony was formal and boring, as these things always are. Lots of speeches about honor and duty. But when Commandant Thorncutter called the human cadets forward as a group, something unexpected happened. The entire graduating class stood up. All 247 of us. Not because it was required. Just because it felt right. Thorncutter noticed. His 4 eyes widened slightly. "It seems your classmates wish to honor you. Would someone care to explain why? I found myself standing, speaking before I realized I was going to. Sir, permission to address the assembly? Granted, Cadet Free. I looked at the humans, these strange, soft, terrifying people who had changed everything. When humans arrived, we thought they were weak. They looked fragile. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no advantages. We thought they would fail. But they taught us something more important than tactics or combat skills. They taught us that strength is not about what you are born with. It is about what you refuse to lose. They taught us that the most dangerous warrior is not the one who never falls. It is the one who always gets back up. They taught us that survival is not a trait. It is a choice. And humans choose to survive. Every time. No matter what. The hall erupted in applause. Not polite ceremonial clapping. Real, thunderous approval. The humans looked stunned, which was gratifying because stunning humans was nearly impossible. Kira stepped forward, and the hall went quiet. She looked at all of us, her expression soft but serious. We did not come here to prove anything, she said. We came to learn. To be part of something bigger than ourselves. To stand with you. Earth is a harsh teacher, yes. But it taught us that we are stronger together than apart. That different perspectives create better solutions. That diversity is not weakness. It is our greatest tactical advantage. So thank you for accepting us. Thank you for learning with us. And thank you for teaching us that the galaxy is full of people worth protecting. More applause. Louder this time. Later, after the ceremony, I found Kira on one of the observation decks, staring out at the stars. I joined her, and we stood in comfortable silence for a while. Can I ask you something? I said finally. Sure. Why did you really join the academy? You could have stayed on Earth. You survived that world. You earned your peace. She smiled, still looking at the stars. That is the thing about humans, Vri. We do not want peace. We want purpose. Earth taught us to survive. But we needed to come out here to learn what to survive for. The galaxy is big and dangerous and full of threats. But it is also full of people worth knowing. Causes worth fighting for. Futures worth protecting. We did not come to conquer or dominate. We came to help. Because that is what you do when you have been broken and put yourself back together. You help others do the same. I thought about that. About these people who have been forged in constant adversity, who could have turned bitter and cruel, but instead chose compassion and cooperation. Your species is terrifying, I said. She laughed. Yeah. We get that a lot. But here is the secret, Vri. We are not terrifying because we are violent or aggressive. We are terrifying because we do not know how to quit. The universe threw everything at us, and we are still here. Still standing. Still pushing forward. And now we are here, among the stars, ready to stand with you against whatever comes next. Because that is what humans do. We endure. We adapt. And we never, ever give up. She turned to face me, and her eyes held that same intensity one had seen on day one. The galaxy has no idea what is coming. Because Earth just sent its children to the stars. And we brought all our survival skills, our resilience, our stubbornness, and our refusal to accept defeat. We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. But we are the ones who will be standing when the dust settles. Every single time. Looking at her, at this human who dropped to the floor at the sound of a buzzing phone but could stare down a Vexillian commandant without flinching, I believed her. Completely. The galaxy had no idea what it was in for. But I did. I had spent 12 weeks with humans. I had seen them turn weakness into strength, fear into tactical advantage, and trauma into teaching moments. I had watched them take everything the Academy threw at them and ask for more. Earth had sent survivors. And survivors do not lose. They just keep going until they win. Humans, I said, shaking my head. Kira grinned. Yeah. We are pretty great, are we not? I could not argue with that. I really could not. And somewhere in the distance, probably in another common area, I would bet anything that Marcus was telling stories about Australian wildlife while other species questioned every evolutionary choice Earth had ever made. Because that is what humans did. They survived impossible odds, and then they told stories about it like it was completely normal. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And I would not want any other species watching my back.